Welcome to the Wyoming Women's Business Center's 2021 webinar series. Today's presentation is Building a Marketing Plan, 5 Simple Steps. I'm Christine Langley, a business counselor at the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and I'll be your speaker today. You'll notice the GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I want to call attention to the questions panel. If you have any comments or questions during the webinar today, I'd like you to use that panel to communicate with me. Immediately following this presentation, a survey is going to launch, and we ask that you complete the survey because it provides us, as well as our funding partners, with valuable information. Now, all of our WWBC webinars are recorded, and they're available to you on our YouTube channel. You can just go to youtube.com and type in the Wyoming Women's Business Center. Make sure you subscribe to check out all of our other business education webinars because we have lots of valuable content, and we add more every single month. As a reminder to any continuing participants or new participants on the line today, all of our webinars are muted for all participants, and it's just to minimize our background noise. So once again, if you have any questions during the presentation, just type them into that questions panel, and when we get to the Q&A portion, I'll make sure I respond. All right, so getting into our agenda for today, we're going to get started with some quick information about the Women's Business Center, and then I'll dive into our specific topic and finish up with a Q&A at the end. This is our 30-minute format, and we appreciate everybody joining us today. The Women's Business Center is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to enable and empower Wyoming entrepreneurs with a special emphasis on women who are economically or socially disadvantaged. And we do that through 4 distinct programs. So the first is business education training and one-on-one counseling. The webinar you're listening to right now falls under that business education offering. If you're interested in one-on-one business counseling, you can become a client for free and gain access to business counselors like me. All you have to do is go to our website at wyomingwomen.org and sign up. Our second program is our microfinance options, which include microloans as well as individual development accounts. If you're looking for access to capital, better known as access to money, you can start by going to our website and completing our sign-up process to become a client. Next, we operate an artist development program that was created for Wyoming artists to increase their business knowledge as well as enhance their visibility through our Works of Wyoming store in downtown Laramie. And then last but not least, we did launch a special COVID-19 support program last May. More information about that program can be found on our website, again at wyomingwomen.org. All right, let's dive into our topic today, building a marketing plan, 5 simple steps. Now, often when I talk about marketing, my clients want to jump ahead and they want to talk about things like images and slogans and graphics. But before we start developing our messaging, it's really important that we develop a strategy for our marketing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start out by actually understanding the process that our customer is experiencing when they buy something, better known as the buying process. All right, now the buying process is a 6-step process, and it actually happens every time a person makes a buying decision. So I'm going to give you an example here. In the case of a checkout line purchase, we might go through these steps really fast. In the case of a larger purchase, like a car or a house, the process is going to be elongated out over maybe several days, weeks, or even months. But rest assured, the process is the same regardless of the item that you're purchasing. So first step in that buying process is awareness of need. It's the first step in the buying process because unless you actually know you have a need, you don't actually need to buy anything. So let's take a simple example. Let's say I woke up this morning and noticed that the heel on my black work shoes was broken. Well, that means that I just became aware that I need a new pair of shoes. Now, the next step is interest in satisfying the need. So let's go back to my shoes. Now, maybe I became aware of the problem with my shoes right before, let's say, a vacation where I wouldn't be needing my black work shoes. So right now, I'm actually not that interested in shopping for a new pair. On the other hand, I might be getting ready for a work presentation, and the outfit I was planning to wear actually needed those shoes, in which case now it's an emergency. So the level of interest in satisfying that need is different depending on my circumstances. Now, the next step in the buying process you can see here is preference, and that's preference for a particular product or service. Now, in the case of my shoes, I actually do have a particular brand and style that I like, so I definitely have a preference for my work shoes. But in other cases, I may be more open to the latest styles or trends, right? If I have a preference already, then it's time for trial in my buying process. In the case of buying shoes, I'd likely go to the store and try them on. But if I'm in the middle of a global pandemic, like right now, or the last year, I'd probably go ahead and purchase them online as long as there was an easy return policy. Now, after the trial stage comes commitment. And in most cases, that means actually making a purchase. Now, if I enjoy my purchase and I'm impressed with the product or service, then I would move on to step 6, which is advocacy. And that means that I'd recommend the product or the service to other people. And that can happen between friends or through online reviews. Now, think about your business and how a customer would move through the buying process for your particular product or service. Are you making it easy for your potential customer to move through those steps? Or are things you do, are the things that you're doing to help guide them through that process, helping make them an advocate in the future? So I want you to remember the 6 steps are the same for every customer making any type of buying decision. And I just want you to be mindful as you're selling to identify which step or stage your customer is at. All right, so now that we understand the buying process, it's time to consider the customer's condition of need. And this is a great time to remind you that a customer isn't interested in you necessarily, they're interested in themselves. So there's 3 conditions of need that drive a person to make a purchase. The first and the strongest condition of need is dissatisfaction with the current situation. That's because urgency always wins. So if I need a pair of black shoes for my outfit today, that means I'm currently dissatisfied with my current situation, right? That means I'm ready to buy right now. Now, the runner-up to that condition of need is the opportunity to improve the current situation. So going back to my shoes, let's say my heel is starting to wear, but maybe it's not broken yet. That would be an example of an opportunity to improve the current situation. It might be okay right now, but I know that it could be better, right? I know it's going to be a problem. And then lastly, perceived deterioration in the current situation. This is the weakest and the hardest condition of need to sell to. It means that you recognize the situation is going to get worse in the future, down the road, but for now it's totally fine. Again, going back to my shoes, I know going into the winter season in Wyoming that I need at least 2 pairs of black work shoes to actually get through the entire winter. So I can perceive needing a second pair. And so maybe the question becomes, do I buy 2 pair at the beginning of the season so I just have a backup in my closet? Or do I just wait and understand that I'm going to need another pair in late February, right? People that buy based on perceived deterioration are typically planners, right? They're the people that buy service plans and they prepay for vacation packages. It's not impossible to sell based on perceived deterioration, but it's not a very strong condition of need. So once again, you want to evaluate both the condition of need for your customer and then what stage of the buying process they're in. It'll help you project when you might get a sale, when you're going to close. All right, so now that we understand the buying process, let's move on to the stages, the steps of the sales process. The sales process is the process you're guiding your customer through. And if any of you have been on these webinars with me in the past, I go over the sales process often. There's lots of different funnels out there with various terms and descriptions, but they all essentially follow the same concept. And so I like referring to my sales funnel using these particular terms. If you have different terms to describe your funnel, totally fine. At the very top of this funnel, we have suspects. And the definition of a suspect is people that don't know much about your business and you don't know much about them. The next stage is prospects, meaning they know something about your business and you can identify them. You can create a list of who these people are. As they move down the funnel, you may have someone on the very cusp of becoming a customer, and you may insert a category for those people. Sometimes we call those hot prospects. And then in some cases, you may offer a trial for your business. We may term those people as trial customers until they become more committed. And ultimately, of course, we hope they become advocates of your business and refer others. So I want you to keep the sales funnel process in mind as we dive into building a marketing plan. All right, so step one in developing a marketing plan is what we call situation analysis. So what's involved in a situation analysis? Well, this is a process of identifying the features and benefits of the product or service that you're trying to sell. And remember that a feature is an inherent characteristic. It's something that doesn't change. It's what something is. A benefit is the value that is derived from using that product or receiving that service. It's what something does. So here's a really old product example some of you may remember. When the iPod was being advertised as storage for 1 gigabyte of MP3s, that was a feature. But those that weren't very techy didn't really understand what that feature meant. And so the benefit to that feature is carrying 1,000 songs in your pocket. So I want you to think about your business now, and I want you to make a list of the features and then corresponding benefits. And so sometimes when I'm going through this process with clients, I like to use a sentence structure to help me clearly identify what a feature is versus a benefit. And it sounds something like this. A feature of my business is, and then you fill in the blank. And what that means to you, Mr. Customer, is, fill in the blank. And so if you'll keep writing out feature benefit statements until you've exhausted all the features in your business, that's going to help you with your situation analysis. Another method for situation analysis is to list all your competitive advantages. So what makes you better than your competitors? And I want you to write it down. You want to look for technical advantages beyond just customer service or price. So often I have my customers say, well, we offer the best service, or we can be really competitive, I'll do price matching. But remember that that may not draw customers in because lots of businesses say that kind of thing. We're the best in customer service, right? So what's something unique or specific to your business that's different from your competition? All right, lastly, a SWOT analysis is also a great tool for situation analysis. This is identifying your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's not only great for your marketing plan, but it can also help you with goal setting. So lots of different ways to do situation analysis, but the bottom line is we want to know the features and benefits so we know what we're potentially marketing to clients. Okay, on to step number 2, which is describing your target audience. And really that's just business terminology for who's your best customer. And when we're thinking about your best customer, all kinds of information can be identified. Anything from demographic, geographic, or even behavioral information can be included. So I always like to go over just some common questions that I have clients answer about their customers to help narrow down on a description of who is that best customer. So you can start with demographic information like age, family composition, earnings, maybe even their location. And then you can move on to behavioral questions like some that are listed on your screen right now. And then once you have a good description of your best customer, now it's time to set some marketing goals. And just a quick tip, I do have some clients that say, hey, anybody could be my customer. My demographic is any adult person in this vicinity or regional geographic area. That's a challenge when every single person in the world or every single person in your local area is your customer, because it's hard to target your marketing effort. So we need to narrow that down, if at all possible, to really hone in on who it is you want to target. Difficult to market to the masses, especially as a small business. So remember that. All right. Step 3 is setting some goals. And whenever we talk about goal setting, I always like to remind clients of the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T. Anytime you set goals, it's important that they follow this methodology. So you want your goals to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And if you can set those goals, it helps you drive that marketing message. Now, commonly marketing goals are set based on the growth or sales desired in your business. So a quick example, you want to increase your existing customer revenue by 20% over the next 6 months. And you can see that that follows that SMART methodology. Now, once we've established our marketing goals, it's time to develop the strategies and tactics that you actually plan to use. Now, remember in the beginning, we talked about that sales funnel? You'll notice here there are different strategies you may engage with depending on where your prospective customer is within your sales funnel. So you may be planning out multiple marketing campaigns to capture customers at various stages. So for example, if you're trying to do general marketing to suspects, those are people that you don't know and don't know your business, then various forms of paid advertising or public relations can make some sense, maybe trying to get some articles written about your business. If you're targeting prospects, meaning you actually have a list of the people that you want to market to, then it makes sense to do maybe email marketing or some kind of loyalty program, or even an event where you can have an invitation list. And then lastly, if you have hot prospects, then a direct sales contact might actually close that deal. Call them up, right? Or send them a direct email, just one-on-one. So at this point, you may have several campaigns in mind. So now it's time to identify really your ideal marketing mix. Are you going to use print advertising mixed with social media and some email campaigns? This is the time where we're narrowing your options and we're selecting that mix that you believe is going to draw the suspects and prospects to your business. And once you've done that, then it's finally time to set your budget. All right, so why is setting my budget step number 5? Shouldn't that be the first? The reason that I make this step number 5 is because I think it's important that you have an ideal plan for marketing your business. We want to know what it's actually going to take. We might have to trim based on your financial reality, but it's important to understand what you truly need first, so that then you can manage your expectations if in fact you can't afford to do everything that you want to do. Plus, you're going to have a solid plan to work towards the future as your business grows. Of course, when setting up your budget, you're going to want to consider your projected revenue for the upcoming year, as well as your cash flow. And if you don't have those numbers, it's really important that you do that work. And if you need help, that's what we're here for. We can help. So I don't want you to hesitate to reach out for some one-on-one counseling. You'll want to always remember to build in all your costs, including the development of any elements you may need for marketing, things like photography, videography, graphic design, back-end support for search engine optimization. All of those things are professions in and of themselves. You're not supposed to know how to do all of those things as a small business owner, just like we don't expect you to be a financial guru and know everything about accounting, right? There's an entire industry for that. So it's important that you do the things that you're really good at, and then we find other people to do things that they're really good at to help support your business. So a good rule of thumb is to set a budget of somewhere between 2 and 7% of revenue for marketing and advertising. Now, that's for an existing business. A startup is generally going to require more than that, maybe 10 to 15% of whatever your projected first year revenue is going to be. Again, because it's a new business, you've got to introduce yourself to the market or develop basic platforms like a website. So you'll notice on the screen that there's a pie chart example. You can get really diverse in your marketing plan. So again, if you need some help developing the strategies and the tactics that you're going to use for your business, I encourage you to reach out to us for some one-on-one business counseling. We actually have a marketing expert on staff that can work with you at no charge. So no reason not to become a free client, no reason to not reach out to us for some support if you need it. All right, guys, in conclusion, it's really important that you evaluate the success of any campaign that you're running. And that means tracking your advertising and promotions to understand their actual effectiveness. And so this can be done through various online tools. You always have the option of surveying your customers to find out how they heard about you. I recommend you always stick with a particular campaign for at least 30 to 60 days so you have enough data to really give it a fair evaluation of the results. And then I always want to leave you with just a quick online marketing toolbox, okay? In today's world, if you aren't represented online, you're not actually in business. So I want you to be sure that you have these musts in mind. So your must-haves. My assumption is that you have a website, and therefore it's important that it's mobile friendly and that you have your own domain name and that you list out the basics, the products and services, there's some kind of an About Us page, and you're easily contacted through a Contact Us page. Next up on the must-have list is you must have a Google My Business listing. It is the primary online citation in order to be found on the internet. Over 85% of all searches in the world are done on Google. And so if you aren't listed in their business directory, you don't exist. Next is having a social media presence. And I always recommend at minimum a Facebook business page that is linked to your website. Your website is really the foundation, and your Google My Business listing and any social media pages you have go on top of that. I always recommend you do a LinkedIn personal page because as a micro enterprise, micro entrepreneur, most sole proprietorships, small businesses that have less than 5 employees, those are kind of our niche at the Women's Business Center. Those are the people we work with. Those small businesses, often people are looking at you as the face of the business. So your LinkedIn personal page needs to highlight your business and your industry experience. And that page should also be linked to your business website. And then last but not least, anything that you put up on the internet needs to have a professional look, which typically means professional images. So your images should be crisp and clear and professional looking. Your photos, your logos, any of your graphics. So again, if you need graphic design support, we can certainly refer you out to a whole host of providers that do that across the state of Wyoming. Lots of options for that. And there's also some free software tools that we have training on, like canva.com, which can help you kind of upgrade the look of what you're posting on your website or social media. All right, guys, I've left a few minutes for questions, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my questions panel here and see if we have any coming in. And in the meantime, while you guys ask some questions, I'll just go over a little bit of information as we close out. The Women's Business Center is made possible through lots of partnership agencies. Our primary funding comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration, and it's matched by the Wyoming Business Council. So, of course, we're thankful for all of their support and guidance as a partner to the Women's Business Center. If you're interested in upcoming webinars, we have our upcoming events listed on our website. You can just go to wyomingwomen.org, click on training, and you'll see all of the upcoming webinars in April, as well as we've got some coming up in May. And then this is some contact information for both our COVID-19 program and also one-on-one business counseling if you want to contact us directly. But of course, I recommend that you go to our website first if you're not already a client and fill out our simple registration form. All right, it looks like I've got some questions coming in. The first is Google My Business a free listing? And the answer is absolutely yes, it is a free listing. And if you need more information on how to set up a Google My Business listing, you can go to our YouTube channel. And we actually have an entire webinar taking you through a step-by-step module on how to complete a Google My Business listing. If you need additional help beyond that, you're welcome to register with the Women's Business Center and we can have a one-on-one session and do that with you as well. Says another question, what was the last term or point in the SWOT? So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So T is for threats. Any threats to your business? A threat could be anything from a possible natural disaster to a future competitor coming into the market, right? If I'm a small ice cream company and I think the franchise Cold Stone is going to open across the street, right? That would be a threat to my business. Follow-up question here on Google My Business. Is Google My Business the same as Google Campaigns? Good question. It is not the same thing. Google is a massive company, right? Google My Business listing is a free listing. Think of it like the yellow pages for the internet, where a Google campaign is typically known as Google advertising or Google click ads, where you're actually purchasing online advertising through Google so that when people search for your business or they search certain keywords, an ad comes up. So there's different ways that you can advertise on Google. And again, if you want more knowledge about Google advertising or Google My Business listings, I encourage you to become a client. We can dig deeper in a one-on-one session. Okay, next up, once we get our business off the ground, can our service businesses be listed on the WBC side? I think you mean site or website. So we have a special COVID-19 program going on right now where we have a vendor directory for creative business service providers, photographers, videographers, website developers, copy editors, copywriters. If you are one of those businesses, you're welcome to apply through our COVID-19 program to become a vendor in order to get listed. But that COVID-19 program is limited from a timeline standpoint. And so it's not a regular directory that is going to be on our website forever. We're a nonprofit organization and we just run these programs from time to time based on funding. But we certainly, if you are a small business in Wyoming, we want to know who you are. We want to understand what your business does, especially if you're a women-owned business, so that we can make referrals when it makes sense. Okay. Let's see, it says, this isn't a question, a comment. These webinars have been great. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. We work pretty hard on making sure that our education is, hitting the mark with small business owners in Wyoming, and appreciate any feedback that people have or any ideas of topics that you want us to cover. It says, you mentioned having lists of experts for such things as graphic design. Do you also have resources for communications and marketing firms? Good question. So again, on our website at wyomingwomen.org, if you go to the COVID-19 program and then click on the B2B section, that's business to business, we do have a vendor directory where we have several marketing communication firms, graphic design, website developers, anybody in that creative space was helping us with our COVID-19 program. They're listed on that vendor directory. So go to our website. Again, if you have any trouble finding any of that, reach out to us directly. We're happy to send you a link. Okay, guys, I hit 12:30 on the mark here. So just to be respectful of everyone's time, I think I got to all the questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I ask you to stay on the line for another 60 to 90 seconds here and respond to this survey. It really does help us. I read every single one and look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.